Today is November 23rd, 2023. Michael Cook speaking. It is currently about 3:40. I'm making this video because just walking around today. Don't really have a heck of a lot going on. I'm not going to go hang out with the family today. Sort of just kind of doing my own thing. And I decided, why don't I make a video on Thanksgiving? Me just kind of like walking through the woods and stuff. So that's the library over there, Clifton Park Half Moon Public Library. Spent a lot of time there over the last year and a half. I'm not going to talk about the library in particular, but yeah, I would spend a fair amount of time going down this trail here to go to the library. And you got this little bridge here and the pond and stuff. I wouldn't really call it a pond per se, but like marshy area. And I am going to get to some sort of subject matter in a moment here, but I thought, why don't I make a video of me like walking through the woods and stuff, and maybe somebody will like that. So I was thinking to myself as I was walking around just now that a lot of people probably have no idea like how often I walk, or like the cool stuff that I wind up finding when I'm walking around. So there's this trail here that connects to the new town center park, which I featured in a video that I recorded last night. The Clifton Park Town Center Park. And I don't think that the town center park is actually in the center of town. I don't know. I started to think about like why things are named the way that they are. So like Shenendehowa Central School District. Why is the word central in it? It's not the center of town. And I think the idea is that it's the main district. They have a few campuses that aren't at the CSD. Yeah, and I was also like, what about the Central Intelligence Agency? The idea being like center, right? The Central Intelligence Agency. Do you think like some of the people that work for the CIA, like, we got so much intelligence going on, that some of it's good intelligence, some of it's bad intelligence. You just got a bunch of smart bastards, and we occasionally have to deal with dumbasses too at the Central Intelligence Agency. Pretty sure that is the case. On a daily basis, they're like having to make judgments calls about like whether the intelligence they're getting is good or whether the intelligence they're getting is bad. And that whoever gave them that bad intelligence is bad. And that whoever gave them the good intelligence is good. Some of these things do actually go through my mind quite a bit, right? So the idea of town center park is what caused me to think of the word central or center and think of Shenendehowa Central School District or Central Intelligence Agency. But like, I don't know. The town center park, they put some signs up and a map and everything. And I can only imagine that like Phil Barrett had something to do with all of that. And Phil Barrett's been like the town supervisor for a while. I guess it's sort of the same thing as a mayor. I don't know. I don't think Clifton Park or Half Moon has a mayor. Kevin Tollison's the town of Half Moon supervisor, and Phil Barrett is the Clifton Park town supervisor. And together they're two supervisors that supervise one another and other people, and they don't fuck around when it comes to overseeing or supervising what the hell's going on in their town. Kevin Tollison actually used to be my lawyer back in 2002, along with his partners. They had an office down in Mechanicville at 109, not 109 Park Ave. I forget exactly what the address is, but it's somewhere on Park Ave, right near the McDonald's in Mechanicville. Right, and so like Mechanicville is a pretty fair distance away. But some of the kids that lived on the edge or outskirts of Mechanicville would go to Shenendehowa. Some of the kids that lived on the outskirts of Waterford would come to Shen. Some of the kids that lived on the outskirts of Malta would come to Shen. Shen is a pretty big campus, and it's pretty far-reaching because Clifton Park is pretty big. Apparently, it's like 54 square miles of area. It's a lot of land. Anyway, the town center park is something that I don't know. They bought the land, and I don't know, like, if they intended to make it a park or whatever. The path is kind of like covered by fallen trees and stuff. You see that a lot in the woods. A lot of trees wind up falling, either by lightning strikes or like wind or age, or sometimes like they'll rot, or an animal will like chew into the structure or integrity of the tree and it'll fall over. And sometimes it's just wind, really bad wind, or even snow, you know. And these are the things that I observe when I'm like walking through the woods and stuff. I find a lot of paths in the middle of the woods, all over the place. I even found like a path that goes from like my old neighborhood to like behind where infrastructure is. A number of trails that sort of connect to make that like hour and a half, like that hour-long walk that it used to be, to like, I don't know, 25 minutes through the woods. I wish I thought I had known about that when I worked there. Anyway, yeah, I walk through the woods quite a lot, and oftentimes when I'm making some of my audio recordings, I'm walking through the woods. But you know, no one would ever know that unless they can see like footage of me walking around. Anyway, yeah, so the town center park is not that far from here. You know, I'm taking the scenic route to get there. I'm in the process of compiling the video that I made yesterday. You know, sometimes I'll make a video that it gets sectioned off because like the file system on my phone like chops up the footage, and I got to tape it together. But then I'll also think to like add like comments or stuff like that. And the laptop that I have isn't all that great. But yeah, so I'm walking on the outskirt of this property here so I can get to this path over here so I can go to the town center park. And yeah, so like that's in the distance there, that is Hannaford, and then Clifton Park Center Mall behind it. All right, I'll zoom in just for good measure. Why didn't that? There we go. Focus. So that's Hannaford, where the blue tarp is, sort of, and then Clifton Park Center Mall area there, way ahead. Anyway, yeah, that's a pretty fair distance from where I am, right? But then, like, there's this trail here that I used to be on the football team in 11th grade, or not the football team, the wrestling team. It was short-lived because I had to like work, and my coach didn't want me to like work while I was on the wrestling team. He's like, no, you got to make a choice between being on the wrestling team or work. And I was like, well, I'm gonna have to go with work. They're like, oh, so you're just gonna give up now? I'm like, well, I'm not giving up. He's like, well, you are giving up because you got to go to work. Ooh, gotta work. Yeah, well, when I was younger, it was just me and my mother. So after I turned 16, you know, when my dad was killed, the state was like paying my mother some sort of compensation for the death of my father. But then after I turned 16, that money got cut in half, and then when I turned 18, that money completely stopped. So after I turned 16, she's like, you're gonna have to like go to work or something, dude, because there's no way that I'm gonna be able to like, you know, support you with all this money that they're sending me and everything. You know, I don't want to make it all about that, but you know, yeah, I used to like be on the wrestling team, like running around and stuff. It was a rather short-lived thing, but yeah, like we would run all the way through here, all the way to like where the old library is. You know, at some point maybe I'll make a video that goes to where the old library used to be, right? So I just started recording the video from where the new library is, and you know, the old library, running all the way from the gymnasium all the way to the library and back, and then having to do a whole bunch of exercises like push-ups, pull-ups, and then wrestling the guys on the team. Yeah, it's pretty taxing. And I know that things have only like remained consistent ever since then, right? But anyway, side point. I am now stumbling across the town center park. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk to like the area where I was last night where the sign is. And then I'm going to walk back to the road and then walk back towards the library. And considering this is like 11 minutes in, I don't have an infinite amount of storage on this phone. I'm going to have to sort of make this somewhat quick, but yeah, so here's the town center park. You know, like they got these lamp posts. I guess this area is called the Glade, and they put a whole bunch of grass on it. This used to be like all like dirt and trees and trails and stuff. And the trail used to come from like the high school and used to split like right here. And like, and I used to like walk home from school quite a lot, so I would walk through this area. And then like at some point up ahead is 146 like, and I'm just going to continue walking where I am right now. So anyway, all this is relatively new, and I've seen plenty of people here. I actually saw some people here like earlier before I started recording this video, and yeah, I don't know, I mean sort of cool. Although I think that the benches that they installed are not all that great, because you know, they've been here for like a year or so, and they're already starting to look like shit. So if you look at this bench right here, something's wrong with the wood. It shouldn't look like that already. Or maybe they changed the material. I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. It certainly doesn't look like it did when they first put it in here. I think what's happening is that the sun is shining down on this, and it's sort of like taking the top layers of whatever coating they put on it off. And then, yeah, I don't know, I'm not an expert on woodcraft, like crafting things out of wood or whatever. My stepfather was for many years. He used to build things like cabinets and tables and picture frames for the jigsaw puzzles my mom used to make or put together. And they got like this bike rack here, right? But it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense that it's there. There's another one over there. I think there's another one at the other end of this. And yeah, so yeah, I think I'm gonna have plenty of time to walk down this and back. So this whole area used to be just like a path. Right now it's all cleared out, but the path used to be like a dirt path. You know, nothing too special. And I walked down quite a lot. And at the tail end of that is Moe Road, which is what the library is off of. And you know, I talked about how the town center park isn't really at the center of town. And there's another park that's like right off of Moe Road, which is practically adjacent to this one. And there's a lot of parks around the town of Clifton Park and Half Moon. A lot of them. And yeah, I don't know what the point is to me saying all of that, but this one is pretty cool. And there's a lot of people that come here and they're walking around. They're typically walking their dog, or they're riding their bike, or maybe there's a bunch of kids that got out of school and they're goofing around and listening to music and playing pranks on one another or whatever. And in the distance there is I forget what the plaza is called, but on the other side of the road is like Tallowood Drive, and there's like a statue in the distance of like some dude and a lady with a baby or whatever. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, straight ahead is the statue. You can't really see it all that well because, you know, digital zoom only works so well. But anyway, it's like today's Thanksgiving. I'm not hanging out with the family or nothing. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. And, you know, it's not super cold out today, but it was cold enough to where, like, I couldn't just sit in one spot outside for a while without feeling cold. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll walk around to generate body heat and stuff. And then that brings my body temperature back up. And then I don't feel so cold. And, you know, it's pretty important to stay moving if you're going to be in temperatures that are somewhat cold. Or if you're not moving, then you stay like well insulated. And I'm not going to get into all of that because I'm not like some army expert that knows about like how to keep warm during the winter or like when it's cold or whatever. But yeah, some of these things I had to figure out like the hard way, right? Being outside a lot, walking around, gotta make sure you're staying moving, dude, so that way your body temperature stays good. This is something that I noticed even back when I was a kid, you know, in wrestling. In the wrestling class, it would be pretty goddamn cold when we ran around. But once we started running and building up a sweat, it wasn't that bad, dude. You know, you might be like sweating, and then as soon as you stop, then you start to get cold and then you start to shiver and everything. But as long as you stay moving, you're pumping out body heat. You're turning calories into heat. And, you know, that should go to show that, like, they have a pretty good idea of, like, you know, what the body has to do to convert, like, stored fats or carbohydrates or whatever it's called, the complex sugars or, I don't know, into heat. You know, like, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not going to get into, like, you know, the difference between one sugar or complex sugar, simple sugars or complex sugars, and like fat cells and how they store all of that. But obviously I have a pretty good idea or general knowledge of all that stuff without having to read Wikipedia or anything on the internet, having to do a quick Google search to find out what the hell I'm talking about or whatever, you know. So anyway, Clifton Park Public Safety Building's right there. You know, that's where the state police and captains is, and Judge Ryback and James Hughes are on the other side of the building, and they don't fuck around when it comes to being the town justice. Nah, not at all. I think my Aunt Terry is still the dog warden at that place, or you know, she goes around arresting people's dogs, or animal control in general. You know, if your dog's walking around without a leash, she's gonna arrest them and bring them to dog jail or whatever, right? So anyway, I'm getting to the end of the park here, and the purpose of me walking all this way is so that I could kind of touch up with the video that I recorded last night where I began to enter this, and I was like, nah, never mind. Anyway, here's the map, the Far Cry 3 overmap of Doom. You got the William K. Collins Jr. Park. That's the park that I was talking about on Mall Road. You got the Glade, the open lawn area. And you got the graphic scale. You got the really cool symbols of trees all over the place. And then you got like the area. For whatever reason, it doesn't say it, but you are here, where I am there. And hey, how's it going? You know, you got the tenth of a mile trail, you got the quarter-mile trail, and you got the other quarter-mile trail right there, and then you got the tenth of a mile trail there. So it's like it's about a half mile if you're walking all the way through. Maybe a little bit more than that. I'm not sure. You know, without doing quick math there, you know, the orange part is quarter mile, but it's a circle. So if you're only walking halfway around the circle, then it's not a quarter mile. And I think that's kind of a rough estimate. I don't think it's quite a quarter mile walking around that whole thing. But anyway, then there's another bike rack here, and there's a shopping cart from Market 32 that's there. I don't know why that's there. You got a lot of parking spaces here, and on the other end of there's less parking spaces on the other end, but I have not seen this parking lot be like chock full of people or cars or whatever. But that's okay. People can come here and then they can just, you know, walk all the way from point A to point B. And they can play like frisbee games or whatever. If they don't want to go to the Clifton Commons, which is on the other side of the Shenandoah Central School District, then they can come here and they can hang out. Yeah, so many years ago when I was in high school, all of this stuff was just woods, and there was a trail that went all the way to like where Hanford is, but at some point like they added on to like the Oranjan, the school that's in the distance there, along with Shattuckon. Shattuckon was made like built like years after the original Oranjan was. The original Oranjan is where Acadia currently is, but like I guess there was some sort of fire or whatever back like after I was in kindergarten, and then they built a brand new Oranjan right over there. And anyway, this is where I was last night, recording the video, talking about stuff. As you can see, like because it's Thanksgiving, it's basically a ghost town. But yeah, they decided to put up this sign here, which, you know, it's not lit during the day for obvious reasons, but at night the lights make this kind of pop, make it really stand out. And they didn't put this in until like many months after they like finished, quote unquote finished. They quote unquote finished what they built here. Anyway, now I'm gonna walk back to the other end, and it's going on 23 minutes now. Now, a lot of what I'm saying really has little to do with my work or my field of expertise or anything. I'm just kind of like talking, and this is what I do a lot. I've noticed that when I make these videos and I'm walking around and talking and stuff, it's more entertaining to me like making an audio recording. Yeah, like even to me. You know, there are many times where I'll listen to my audio recordings when I'm kind of like by myself or whatever. But yeah, it's a little more entertaining to be able to see like video or visual input. So I don't always have an opportunity to record stuff on my phone because the battery will die and whatever. But you know, I would wager that anybody watching these videos that I've been making, if they were to compare me to somebody like Daniel Larson or what the hell is his name? What the hell is his name? Tony Chase. You know, like these guys, they get a fair amount of people watching them, but like Tony Chase just kind of talks in circles about satellite men, like burning him or his eyes or his face or whatever, and like that they need to be given the death penalty for trying to steal his penis or whatever. I don't know. Tony Chase has got some issues. But then there's also like Daniel Larson, who, like, I don't really know how to put it, but like he's not talking about like anything that doesn't involve I don't know. I really don't know how to describe him, but like a few people seem to think that he's got some serious issues. Whereas like the content that I make, I try to make sure that when I'm talking about something, that it's a concept that I put some thought into. It's gonna, maybe be interesting or appealing to some people. And I try not to get stuck on like talking about what I'm talking about, but rather just talking about it. I don't know if that's gonna make any sense, but I guess what I'm saying is I'll come up with some ideas and I'll do some brainstorming, and I'll do all this long before I hit the record button. I might not talk about every single thing that I want to talk about, but sometimes I will. So one of the things I want to talk about is this idea of determinism. So determinism, it directly contradicts with free will. The idea behind determinism is that people don't have free will, and everything that happens to them is driven by fate or destiny, whereas free will is the ability to make choices and decisions that alter someone's fate. So these things are talked about in religion quite a lot, and also in philosophy. The thing about determinism is that it is what I believe is happening, and basically what it means is this: everything that's going to wind up happening in your life was already planned ahead of time, and this illusion of free will exists, where people think that they're making choices and everything, but I don't know. Not really sure how to put it into words without getting someone trying to argue with me about one thing or another. So anyway, free will and determinism. I think Professor Robert Sapolsky talks about this a lot. You think that you have free will? Well, nope, you're wrong. You don't. So if I were to, I would have to write a couple of essays talking about all this. I have kind of done this already to some extent, and people think that they're making choices in their life, and they have to take accountability for their own choices in life and their own actions and stuff. Like, what about the actions that other people take where they're not taking accountability for their actions? It's sort of a factor in me thinking that things are in a deterministic point of view, and considering like I don't know. How's it going? Talking about like the sins and the virtues, 7 deadly sins and 7 heavenly virtues, which I touched on in the video that I recorded last night. These things kind of just happen. Like, sins occur, and people commit sins without putting a whole lot of thought to it. They're like, committing them is natural. They're natural human instincts, these sins. But virtues require a bit of discipline and conditioning, and in order to uphold those values, it requires more effort. So like self-control, like prudence is like self-control, and justice is deciding what's fair from what's not, and there's faith and hope. I have to expand upon all of these things at some point. I'm not going to do it in this particular video, but the thing is that all of these things happen, right? Some people have much more resistance to committing sins, like they have more fortitude or prudence, while others, they just kind of go with the thing that is easiest to them, or I don't know, like if you're, like, let's say me. If I were to think about my high school days and think about all the hot girls that I went to school with, well, if I think about all that all the time, I'm committing a sin by committing lust. All those hot girls out there that I went to school with, or high school, If I think about that all too much, I'm committing a sin. And having self-control is something that requires conditioning. Like, you can think some girl's mad hot or whatever, but like, you need to have a bit of self-control over yourself. You gotta, like, be within reason, right? So some of this stuff will sound stupid to some people. um, Typically people that are committing sins constantly every day, right? And when I say sins, I don't mean like the sins that they teach like in church. I know that this is going to sound like a religious based argument that I'm making, but it kind of applies to the human condition, kind of bypassing religion in general. Like, there are things to consider about religion, but I'm talking more about it. I am talking about the theological aspects of some of these things, but also like psychology or the human condition, kind of studying the human condition. A lot of people don't really like being told what, they don't like hearing about the truth about the human condition. They don't like finding out that people are automatically born into this world with like a set or concrete trajectory that, like, they're gonna do bad shit. They don't like being told that that is the truth, and like they'll actually like fight with people or get very argumentative or heated about it and defensive about it when, like, they have no conditioning whatsoever to uphold the virtues. Right? It takes effort to uphold the virtues, and a lot of people think that they're upholding the virtues when they're not. So let me stop talking about all of that and talk about specifically about determinism. So determinism considers all of those things, and how, like, people will travel the path of least resistance, and unlike an electron in a circuit, it's going to follow the path of least resistance, and then it's going to get to the other end of the circuit. And then, yeah, humans don't like to act like a resistor. They like to act like an electron traveling through a circuit. So what I mean specifically is this, right? The guy I used to work for, Pavel, I think he was talking about this guy named Sun Tzu, or maybe it wasn't him, it was someone like that, but he's like, go with the flow of the river. And I was thinking, wow, that's cool. The thing is if you go with the flow of the river, your life might be easier, but if you go against the current, like few people dare to, you're going to develop a lot of resistance. And another thing to this is when everybody goes with the flow and they do what's easiest, they're going to be susceptible, and they're going to be vulnerable when the time comes that they have to stand up for themselves for whatever reason or whatever, and they're not going to know what to do because they weren't taught how to go against the current. They didn't teach themselves, and no one else is able to teach them because they weren't ready to listen. Whereas people that develop discipline, they know when and where they can go with the flow of the river, but then they can also go against the current of the river when the river is doing something wrong. Well, the idea behind right and wrong is what causes, like, all these things to occur, right? And when it comes to determinism, like, everybody does things that are good and bad, and sometimes people will justify their actions. A lot of times, in most cases, people will justify their actions somehow, but sometimes when they hear their justifications out loud, they'll realize that their justification is pretty senseless, or it doesn't hold up. It wouldn't hold up in a court of law or whatever. Like, sometimes it will, and people will just ignore those things just because they think that it's pesky or it's trivial or not very important, right? But that happens too. But anyway, those are my thoughts for today. I'm coming on to Mo Road here, and I spent the last 35 minutes talking about stuff. And yeah, so the thing is in life, everybody can be wrong at any given moment. Not everybody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But what causes people to be, you can never be perfect, but the next best thing is trying to be, or making the effort to be perfect. It'll always be an effort to be perfect, or to perfect what is wrong. You're never going to be in a state of perfection. Anyone that thinks that way has some very deep-seated flaws in their psychology.
Wakey, motherfucker! Op says there's a delay in the feed. They need to recalibrate your ass.
Me?
Well, it ain't me, because I'm goddamn near perfect. Men want to be me?
And you want to be with men? Yeah, I got it.
Coming up on our target.
You can never attain perfection, but you can constantly strive toward it. And it's like an action. It's a trajectory. You can never be in the state of being perfect is what I'm saying. But you can be in a state of constantly trying to perfect things that are wrong. And sometimes people will drown out like the things that they should do, and they'll pay really close attention to the things that they shouldn't do. You know, comparing like wants and needs, earthly desires and stuff like that. And those are the things that cause me to think that determinism overrides free will. And if some professor from Stanford University is going to chime in on that, that's going to cause me to think about his angle of attack, or maybe not angle of attack so much as like his scientific expertise, right? Dude's talking about like toxoplasmosis and how that like migrates from like fleas into felines, and then it eventually reaches the human brain, and then it causes like a state of psychosis where, like, I don't know, somebody acts in a similar manner to how I don't know, it causes psychosis of serious level. And like, I don't have a PhD in the number of things that he does, and I won't be able to like quote every single thing in all of his lectures or whatever, because he has so many of them. But some of the things he'll talk about kind of stick with me, like his interview on Joe Rogan, on the Joe Rogan podcast a few years ago. That stuck with me. Basically what I'm getting at is this: people think they have choices, but do you? Do you really have a choice? I think that the choice is already made ahead of time, and then like, not unlike how in the Matrix, like Matrix Revolutions or Reloaded, that's the one it was. Neo finds out that Trinity is going to die in this explosion in the building, and like he is presented the choice of like allowing Zion to be free from the war or to save Trinity. And like the dude didn't really put any amount of time at all into making the decision. He was automatically gonna go save Trinity and try to figure out how to do it. And that speaks to determinism. It's like someone's pulling on somebody's heartstrings and to do something, and then the oracle's like, you're not here to make the choice. You're here to understand why you made the choice. And that's just it. Some choices aren't choices. They're rather like, I don't know. I guess I gotta leave it open to interpretation. Everybody's gonna think that they have choices to make, but are they really making choices, or are they just going along with their principles or who they are or their character? And that's the idea behind determinism. Anyway, I have circled all the way around the path and everything, and so I'm going to end this video. End log.